Hi. So this afternoon, this day, was really emotional at the beginning. And what I feel like every moment is a learning moment. And I'm just trying to take advantage of that recognition of those, or just recognizing those opportunities of learning and growing, challenging myself in different ways, doing the research a little bit. So I'm terming this entry as a little bit of everything part one. Because I realized just going back and looking at the videos about spiritual awakening and understanding a little bit more about the different signs that you're going through a spiritual awakening. So I wanted to touch a little bit on that. I wanted to touch a little bit on as much as I didn't want to touch on it for my own reasons, but then realizing it's selfish and not authentic if I don't address it. Touching a little bit on the twin flame impact, because that's very real for me right now. As much as I had hoped and believed that I had let that go, I've come to accept a different way of looking at it, and I'll explain more. But also touching a little bit on religion and spirituality, specifically Christianity and Buddhism, my own experiences with all of this, as well as the mental health component with couples therapy, and there's a little asterisk behind that because that's actually not an area of my expertise. I work with children, I work with families, teens, young adults, but couples was the one thing that I knew from the very beginning of my training that I was not going to be able to do, because there was so much countertransference in that process for me because of my history, my family history, and I just knew that was not going to be my niche. And so I'm relying on Kristen Snowden, and I've included hopefully the link if I choose to use this as part of the YouTube channel experience. But I'll include her link and all of the other links of where I gathered this information from, because I want to make sure I'm not repeating exactly what they're saying, because they do a much better job of explaining it. My purpose is really more of just sharing my experience with what's resonating with me right now, and what resonated with me a month ago, before the concept of doing some type of video journal, diary type of thing came up. And I want to honor that process by sharing a little bit more of that experience. So just starting off with the spiritual awakening signs, because I feel like there's more and more of that going on for me right now, intensely and so close together, and it's like an emotional roller coaster that I can't seem to get off of, but I'm okay with it. I'm making my peace with it. So anyways, Christina Lopes, I've mentioned her before. She's amazing in terms of how she teaches and communicates this information in such a loving and neutral way, and shifting our perspective, or inviting us to be open to shifting our perspective on how we view certain things, or how other people are terming certain things. Because when I was doing some of the research and looking at different videos, it was really hard to find something that resonated with me, that felt and sat well, because even though, and I don't want to come across as comparing, but I am. I'm just being honest. Not that they're wrong in their approach. I think it might serve well and resonate well for some people. But the approach that I'm embracing through this process is really the teacher becomes the student model. And so really taking that approach versus just creating a YouTube channel because I know everything and I'm just going to teach you what I know. And try to convince you to go my way. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is all new to me. This is like learning a new language. And I feel that this route is going to give me the opportunity to come to my own conclusions of this process, and hopefully it will just shed a little bit of light on the development piece from one perspective, my perspective that I'm opening up and sharing with you in this journey. And again, I've chosen to focus on the journey and the process and the development, growth, transformation piece versus the end result or what needs to happen, because we are all unique. We all have our past, our history, our experiences, and it makes us unique in that way. And so the expectation of going through a specific process, cookie cutter process, is just not realistic. And that's the same it's the same base, I guess, or of understanding that and approach that at least I take from a clinical perspective, from a mental health perspective. That's the approach I've taken. That's the approach that many of our clinicians are also taking. Understanding that we have differences, honoring those differences, and knowing that there is no cookie cutter way. I mean, there are specific theories and interventions and stages for certain methods of practice, but when you're working with children, it's you have to be open to a variety of techniques and interventions because they're growing and they're still experiencing life. Their brain is not fully developed, and so really understanding the importance of our role to just be present with them in that process, and with them and their families, and not understanding where they are developmentally, and understanding that what's going to work for one child may not work for another. And so that's what I'm going to focus on and really embrace, just really being present for the moment, experiencing the feelings, being true and authentic with myself so that I can be true and authentic with you. And that is going to require that I open up and share about things that I initially didn't plan on sharing. But again, it's about the authenticity and owning my process. And hopefully I will be able to do this with grace for myself and for those involved, with confidentiality as well, as best as I can, to honor the other individuals and anybody else who was involved, and be respectful in that respect, but at the same time keeping it real, and just being open to really looking at how we each experience things differently and honoring that process. So I wrote things down so I can stay on topic. It's pretty late and I couldn't sleep I just, after what happened, I had said I was going to meditate, but I didn't. I'm trying to take care of myself better, so I had dinner, because that's an area that I've been struggling to, just being consumed with what's going on. Loving myself is taking care of myself, and so just prioritizing. But I chose another grounding method of dancing, dancing while I was cooking, and then after I was done, still dancing, which I will share in the little bit of something. But anyways, so I know I've mentioned it before, and I'll go over it briefly. I've been experiencing a lot of that sensitivities to energies around me, and that's including my soul's energy with the synchronicities and the signs, letting me know that something was coming, right? I mentioned it before, experiencing in the last 2 days a lot more of this different pattern of numbers that I hadn't seen before. It initially was the one repeated number 3 to 4 times, like 222, 333, 555, 1111, 1010, 1212, and it shifted from that to 323, 505, 101, and then it was 1221, or 1001, and I was tripping out because I couldn't find anything online about it per se, and it kept becoming more and more frequent, and I'm talking like frequent because I was writing them down yesterday. I actually made a conscious effort in the middle of my workday that if I happened to come across it, or if I happened to, and I wasn't thinking about it, but because it happened the day before, I wanted to make sure I was maybe capturing the right number so that I can plug it into Google and see if maybe that number popped up, to see if I could find an answer, because I wasn't having any luck with that. And so I just wanted to see if I can catch a pattern, basically was what my goal was. And then I just kept writing this stuff down. I was just like, oh man, this is going to be a long day, because it's already happened so much, and I can't find a pattern aside from the first and the last number being the same, except for the 1221, where it flipped over the other number, but again, the number still, it was like balanced, and that's the word that kept coming up for me when I was seeing these numbers, is just balance, and so that was what I sensed. And then there were moments also within the last month where I would listen to songs during the day, or just I really enjoy music and different genres of music, and it just felt like the lyrics to the songs were just standing out a lot more, and I almost felt like I was able to identify the individuals in my life, that like if those were their words. And I remember catching myself and thinking, is this you, so and so? Like, is this your higher self like communicating to me what's inside your heart? That's how it felt, and it was just so weird, and at the same time, so I don't want to say comforting, because that's not the word. Familiar. It was familiar because I could relate, or it was they were words that I always felt like even though they never said it, I always sensed that they were feeling it, and you just don't question it when you're just not really in tuned, and that wasn't much of a person who confronted then, but that's what it felt like. Including the sensitivity to energies is also the what Christine Dina Lopes termed as mental disturbances. And so this really teeters a fine line with mental health and true depression or true anxiety. Actually, I don't even want to say true, but the way we define someone experiencing depression or anxiety, where it's creating a functional impairment. So that's functional impairment is what it is, right? It's you're having all of these symptoms and it's actually causing an impairment, a consistent impairment in your life where you can't function, whether it's at home, at school, with your relationships with others. And so, and you know, just looking at the symptomology of that. And so she stresses, you know, by all means, please make sure you rule out if there's anything involved or of concern. My sister-in-law, she's so beautiful inside and out. She, when I was talking to her about what I was going through, she went ahead and just started researching, which I so appreciated, because it made me feel like I wasn't going crazy, you know, to know that she was being open, to learning, to be a support, to learn how to be a support to me. So I really appreciated that. I still appreciate it because she's still doing that. But she came across something that I guess an actual list. Someone created an actual list of you know, how to determine if a loved one is going through a spiritual awakening. And she says she felt so much better after coming across that list, because she was concerned for me. She was really concerned that I was going through some type of breakdown. She just knew I was different and wasn't sure and wanted to make sure. So anyway, so she also mentioned that this particular, and I didn't ask her what the website was, but she said that it also recommended to get a consult with a guru, which makes sense to me, right? Because it's something definitely spiritual, obviously spiritual beginning, but it's it's just like at the same time you're like, okay, well, where's the nearest guru, right? Like, it's not like they're in the yellow pages where you can just be like, you know, I mean, as it is, mental health is kind of taboo, right? I mean, it's being embraced more and more, but you know, we have a list of resources of different places depending on the area that you live in. But even that is like, only recently has it been more accepted. So just the thought of, let me just, you know, open up the yellow pages. Oh, we don't even have the yellow pages anymore. Let me Google nearest guru towards me, and yeah, no, I don't even know if that would come up. But anyways, my mom actually thought I was going into depression again. I think I mentioned that before. So that was all under sensitivity to energies, which is one of the symptoms I experienced. The other thing was tapping into collective thought patterns, a mental sensitivity, and I think this is where the lyrics to the songs, like I mentioned, I was experiencing that. I'm still experiencing that actually today when I was trying to dance it off and ground myself by dancing. I put on my dancing music, but I like had to stop myself because some of those songs I never paid attention to the words, and they were really not positive. And you know, being mindful of Payu, which is what Pema Chodron talks about in her book, about how we understand that even our thoughts have power, even our thoughts have energy, and what we think, right? That whole connection of what we think will be what we believe will be what we think, what we say, and what we do. And there's power to that. Again, CBT, from the mental health field, cognitive behavioral therapy, very much alike in likeness. It's just a different language, same concept. And so that's that. I've definitely felt an increase in anxiety. I shared that in a few other videos more recently, you know, when I went to the funeral, just all of a sudden, and it's a sudden onset, like it's not even a build up. It's like I'm doing fine, and then all of a sudden, bam, like I feel it all at once. Today, with that song, I also felt it. So it's pretty intense. The next one was like personality changes, and I've been experiencing that as well. And they say that it's like a shedding of your old ego, your old self, and you start doing, there's different meaning to things, and I have noticed that. I did notice that last month. I'm still noticing it now. Last month I've been living here only since September, beginning of September. We're middle to end October. The moment I moved out was when all of this, the emotional part of it really happened. And I was still unpacking, and I realized that there were certain things that I didn't have the same emotion towards, and I ended up donating those things. And they were things that before were so meaningful that I had to hold on. So that was different. My family members, the ones that are really struggling with me, and the choices that I've made to get me to this point, there's this constant, who are you? I feel like I don't even know you comments. And I'm like trying to process that, because everyone around you is a mirror. You get triggered, and it's because someone's holding a mirror up to you. And so at that point in time when they were making those comments, I actually felt a little more secure for whatever reason, and I could have been one of the stages, I don't know. But in terms of just the continued pattern of being told that, and my response was initially I was a little, defensive, but I didn't show it, but I felt it. And then the more I kept hearing it, the less defensive I felt, because it was that acknowledgement in myself, like, I am different. I'm looking at things differently, and that's okay. And I know it's scary for other people, and I'm okay with that, just at peace with that process. Then there's also physical disturbances. I also talked about that, just the aches and pains that I was feeling all of a sudden from loved ones. Again, this morning I was getting ready, and my hand all of a sudden started twitching, as if I had like overworked it. And I'm like, I just woke up, and I actually had a more restful sleep. So it really, so that was something that I felt. Another thing that's been happening is just my heart awakening. When I moved in, I want to say maybe like 2 days after I moved in, I went to go see my acupuncturist. And my acupuncturist, I love him so much. His name is John, and he knows a little bit of English, but we communicate. Somehow we communicate very well. And you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say that, because I don't know. He knows enough to where we communicate, but at the same time, sometimes I feel like he tries. He does better with text. So I text him all the time. Sometimes I'm like, so grateful for you, because he has helped me so much. But he does acupuncture. He does like the cupping. He does this specific type of massage. I'm trying to find it right now, but it's like, I forget what it's called, but it's an intense massage. Like it hurts for sure. It hurts, but I feel so good after. It's just like so relieving, and he's like magic. Every time I go, I'm just like, just fix me, John, just fix me. He's so sweet. And when he puts pressure in a certain spot, he senses my breathing changing, and he's just like, I'm so sorry, but I love him. So I went a few days after I moved in, and every time I go, he focuses on a different part of my body. So I realized with him that I was breathing incorrectly. I was breathing as if I was in this constant anxiety state of mind, which makes sense because of my past. But he focused on my stomach, and he made me like breathe a different way. And then coincidentally, a few weeks after that, we had a training at work, and it was about mindfulness and breathing techniques. And I realized, and I made the connection because my colleague presented on deep breathing and how you can tell that you're breathing differently if you breathe more like that's pressure. That's the type of breathing that is not very helpful. You want to do the belly breaths to really release and feel relaxed. So your shoulders should be kind of stoop low when you're doing deep breathing techniques. So and that's what he was working on. I didn't even notice, right? And you know, I have to put a little asterisk, you know, in terms of just my knowledge base with mental health, because I went to school, graduate school, got my degree, passed my license. I have, you know, so much experience working in this field, but I continuously share to my clinicians and my teams, I don't know everything. I mean, let's be real. How many of us actually read every single book in college? I was trying to survive in college. I was working, I don't know how many jobs. I look back and I think I have no idea how I got through it, because I would probably feel exhausted. Just thinking about it exhausts me. And so I read what I needed to read and some to get by. And most of it I've learned just through my experience, through great supervision from my supervisors and program managers. So I'm just being real about that. So I'm constantly learning. I might know these concepts and I might practice them in a certain way, and then I come across another intervention or someone else who maybe modified it and it works great. I put it into my toolbox, because again, every child is different. Every child is going to resonate with something unique for them. So he did that. So when I moved here, again, he focuses on different parts. He was focusing more on my heart. I noticed he was focusing more on my heart, and he, I don't know if you guys ever massage this area. Oh my goodness. I never did until he did that for me. And he's still respectful, you know, in terms of how he does it, but I'll talk about that in another. But he usually just grabs my hand, and I do it for myself, but he guides me. And I remember it hurt so bad. And then I would just do it on my own, right? I'm like, okay, if he did it, I'm just gonna keep doing it every time it hurts. So now it doesn't hurt as much, but he focused more in my heart, like the inside of my chest, like where the heart chakra really is. And I remember like he put pressure and it hurt so bad, and he would put like a blanket and then hot stones in that area, and then still massage. And I just remember coming home that day and I'm just like, oh, I'm so sore in my heart. And it was sore for like 2 or 3 days, which had never happened before. I kid you not. The following week, that whole week, I was an emotional wreck. And I really truly believed he did something to open up my heart chakra, because I hadn't bought any stones. I just had my one the big healing stone that I was using, that I would put there as well in massage. But I kid you not, that was an incredible experience. And so my heart awakening, you know, where I'm healing myself by allowing myself to experience the emotion, all ranges of emotion, from hate, anger, you know, sadness, disappointment, grief, and the more I did that, the more empowered I felt, the more relieved I felt, the more at peace I felt. And more recently, so that was at the beginning of the month, but more recently I'm using all of that and the knowledge that I have, and using and thinking, well, if I can do that to heal myself, I can do that to heal other people. So with the recent loss that we had in my family, I started practicing doing that, where I was during my meditative state, I would speak my intentions, to use my energy, to use Tonglen, right? Breathing in the toxicity, breathing out love, to help heal my family and just provide them with a sense of peace. And I did that and I felt it. Just being grateful in that experience as well. That's part of awakening your heart, is recognizing that we are so blessed. We are so blessed. Christina Lopes also talks about just coping techniques, which I've mentioned before, just grounding, really understanding and practicing grounding, whether it's meditation, whether it's massages, whether it's dancing, whether it's walking out in nature, being barefoot in nature. But what I noticed today after my emotional roller coaster, the songs that I was listening to weren't positive. I was hearing the lyrics and I honestly felt like this individual, my twin flame, was speaking to me the words of hurt, the words of loneliness, the words of abandonment. And then some of those lyrics were my response back. Like it was like my higher self and his higher self communicating almost. It felt like that. And then I just started realizing, like, why am I sticking to these songs? Let me pick the songs that are more empowering, that just radiate love for myself and others, in particular this individual, because this individual has been weighing heavy on my heart today. And realizing that I have the ability, right? I have the ability I have the power to heal myself and heal others, and it's just a matter of choice. And this whole concept of letting go is really more of letting go of the past, letting go of the emotional baggage, letting go of this mental cage that we have created for ourselves with our thought processes, our cognitive thoughts that are not healthy, that are what we once believed to be truths are really not. So this idea of, oh, this is going to be hard work, whatever you want is going to be hard work. It's like, no, I can reword how I believe that statement to be true, and make new statements for myself, new truths for myself. And so I wrote down a new truth that I will receive the desires of my heart with grace and ease, free from judgment, free from negativity. Like, how powerful is that? I have my power. I can create what I want. We are both worthy of love and abundance. We are capable of igniting our own flame. We are grateful. So just being in a different mindset, surrendering to this idea of control, and surrendering to love, to unconditional love, unconditional, selfless. I don't expect anything in return type of love, that at any point you're free to go, but I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to heal myself for you. That was from Pema. I highlighted it. That was what I took from, her teaching, that I will work on my own healing for you. And there's just so many other things in here that are just, it's a choice. It's just choice. Not that I need to, not that I need anything in return, but it's really just a choice to give off that love, that unconditional love, and because we're just humans, and if you hurt, I hurt, because we're connected. And if I can sit with you in your pain, then I can do that. And so it resonates with the line of work that I do, that I'm in, because when we enter that room with our clients, we're supposed to be that neutral base, that we walk in with a basket almost, and we tell our clients, hey, I'm here. You can dump what you need to dump here. You can process what you need to process here, and I will be the holder of this for you. You can walk out the door, leave all of that here, and I'm strong enough to hold it here for you until the next time we meet. And then if you need to take something out to keep, chewing on it or process, we'll do that, and if not, that's okay too. Just meeting them where they're at, and just, I just had that connection today, you would think that I would know, but I don't. You would think that it would come easy, but I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and we're taught to separate our work with our home life. We're taught to leave work at work, leave family life at family life. Again, separation, right? But if we are open to that concept of there's no true separation, we're all connected, interconnected, then we're closing that gap slowly. And as long as we're doing it with good intentions, with not wanting to take control over the other person, take control of ourselves, it's more of just loving yourself, loving others, then, everything will be okay. And so there's that. There's that. Kristen Snowden, she termed, I don't know if it was her term, again, I am not familiar with different interventions or theories for couples therapy or family therapy. I pretty much just work with individuals with children and teens, but she used the word intimacy within a relationship, and then she broke it down with intimacy meaning into me you see, intimacy, and so it's that concept of sitting with someone during the worst of times, right? And still being compassionate, still being empathetic, still being present without the fear of being judged, without the fear of rejection, of abandonment, because those are all fears that we all possess in some level, in some shape or form. And if we're able to heal ourselves from those things that trigger us, then we are more capable of being there for others unconditionally, with no need of expecting anything in return, because you already love yourself enough that you are capable of loving someone else and letting them go if they need to go, just setting them free. And even if that's a process, I think remembering and being grateful for that moment of being true selves in front of each other is such a beautiful moment, those moments of vulnerability that really speak to mankind, that speak to who we are as human beings, as creatures of love, and it's just so beautiful. It really, truly is. But it's also scary. I mean, the thought of someone seeing all of you, right? The thought of someone seeing all of your flaws. It's because it's not just the good. It's the areas that you need to work on, the areas that there might be some shame tied to that. There might be some guilt. There might be, thoughts about what that means if someone might see that. And so understanding that it is a process, understanding that these individuals in our lives are going to be afraid, are going to hold back, are going to run away, are going to engage in behaviors that are not healthy because they're trying to escape, and understanding that there's an acceptance that goes with that, right? I accept the fact that you need to do that right now because you're not in a place where you can take that next step. But it's also honoring ourselves in that process where we understand what those boundaries are, and we're not feeding into that either, where we're keeping a healthy distance when the distance is needed, when the separation is needed, knowing that it's just temporary. It's just temporary. And that as long as I continue to heal myself, as long as I continue to be aware, open to be aware and open to feel what I feel, and as long as I keep working on those positive thoughts, my intentions every day, speaking into existence what I want to see happen for my life and for the lives of those I love, that there's power in that. There's power in that energy, and it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. And you're helping other people heal. I think that's the biggest piece of it, is the ability to help people heal in a different way. Because that's, again, the same concept of mental health, right? We have those clients that are, there's this thing about, changing for good and requiring 3 things to change successfully, which is the willingness, the readiness, and being ready, willing, and able to change, to accept change, to go through the stages of change. And so when we look at our clients and we're processing certain, cases, and the clinician is struggling with the client because there's a pushback. It's like, okay, how are we going to look at that pushback? What does that mean, right? And really identifying that it's probably one of those 3 things. They're not ready. It could be age-wise, right? Because we work with littles. And so it just might mean the intervention is just going to have to change to something that might be something that is less threatening for them. And so taking that perspective. The twin flame aspect, twin flame revolution, I've shared that before. They have a lot of information about the different stages, and so one of those is the shadow work that you do, and the impact of that. And it's the concept, my understanding, but again, hopefully I put the link below so that you guys could check it out yourselves. My understanding of it was that with the twin flame, your twin, it's like the other half of you, like you were split in 2. And so this other individual, you might not be exactly the same, but some of the challenges are, we're going to mirror each other. And then the reality is we mirror each other with everybody outside our twin flame. But for whatever reason, I have felt so far that it's pretty intense, and there were things that were highlighted for me in a way that I hadn't or wasn't willing and ready to see in the past. I kept hiding it, and through the experience that I had with this individual, things were coming up for me that I had to accept. I was open to accepting. I was ready to accept it. And I think that's why this past month and a half has been so intense, because the moment I realized something, I did something about it. The moment I looked, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to try to resolve this? And so I was apologizing. I was reaching out to people, making my peace, and sharing the love, that the best way that I could, with the challenges, and crying a lot. I mean, I was losing sleep. I lost an incredible amount of weight. It was not healthy, but I was just so caught up in these phases that I don't know how to explain it. I'm just glad I'm not there anymore. And here's the thing, now that I'm saying that out loud, I know it's going to come up again for me, because it just keeps happening where I think I'm done with something, and then here comes another layer of it. But anyway, so that's, I think, the bit of the twin flame piece that I wanted to share. And just the other pieces of it are just speaking into existence, protecting my energy, protecting myself right now. My good friend reminded me that I'm in a vulnerable position because I'm experiencing all of these physical things, right, with my energy and being so sensitive, that at the same time I'm susceptible to other I'm just susceptible to, being taken advantage of. I don't know. And finding a way to protect myself. Mary Jo from Soulful Revolution. Her channel is a tarot reading channel, guidance. She's probably the main one that I stick to in terms of morning messages or stuff like that, because her intuition is a little more geared towards the overall mission, and what that looks like, and that's just kind of where my heart is. So she had shared, and it's crazy because as I'm experiencing these things, the following morning she provides me with an answer. Like, it's just and again, it's not that it's coming from her, it's coming from a higher source, from God, from Jesus, however, I believe in God, so I feel like it's from God and the angels, and so she's just the medium in between, the messenger, if you will. But it just seems it's been very consistent where the answer is there, and she provides some guidance, especially because this is a whole new world for me. So she talked about setting intentions, which I had heard from somewhere else as well. And I think I mentioned my little book that I use, creating a shield boundary of light and love around me and my loved ones, that they're safe. And Christina Lopes, today when I was looking at it, she talked about visualizing myself as a living fire when I enter large rooms, so that I can push away any energies. And it was funny because when I heard Christina Lopes talk about that, it just reminded me of what I was writing this morning before I heard her video about the idea of lightning, and if lightning is needed to create a transformational moment, can the light inside of me, can I harness enough of that to transform it into my own flame, so that I can then heal someone else with love versus this intense, aggressive lightning bolt. And so when she talked about visualizing myself as a fire, I tried it. To be honest with you, I tried it, and all of a sudden I did feel a lot of heat and then a lot of burning back here, actually. And so now I'm just wondering if there's like a connection to that. But anyways, and then the last thing was just being a hermit when you needed to be. And I feel like I've been a hermit a lot. I've stayed home, even during the week off that I asked of work. That was really challenging. I had wanted to go out to nature, go to the beach, just, be one with nature. But at the same time, my intuition was saying, just stay home, just stay home, just stay home. And I listened to it, and I'm so grateful that I did. And I've had to cancel. Today I canceled. I had dinner plans. I canceled those. And being open to letting more people know about what's going on, not being afraid that they're not ready, but just, hey, if you're interested in seeing how you can support me, because you've extended that offer, take a look at this video. But I think I'm gonna stop it there because it looks like I'm getting close to the 50-minute mark. But I'm just so grateful that I went through this experience today unexpectedly, because I really feel that I was able to overcome this with compassion and love in my own way. So I'm so grateful. Oh snap. It's gonna be one. I need to get some shut-eye. Alright, I'll see you guys later.